Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Tonight, Fox 45 heard from a panel of state's attorneys, all of them stressing the urgency needed to curb youth violence.
We represent the whole of Maryland, all the diversity that exists in Maryland. And to a person, everyone agrees that there are some significant issues in criminal justice and public safety.
I look at it as really a life or death issue. I look at it as an issue of whether or not a young person's going to end up behind bars or if they're going to end up, maybe taking the bar.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost hosted that town hall, and Mackenzie appointed an important conversation tonight, especially when it comes to how the Department of Juvenile Services operates overall.
Yeah, absolutely, Mary and Kai. To start the conversation with these prosecutors about legislative priorities, we really wanted to begin with where the system stands right now. And it's clear these prosecutors argue what happens inside DJS in terms of how decisions are made regarding charging young people is not widely known. And when decisions are made, some argue that decision may not be made by the right person.
We don't know what is happening. The police don't know what is happening. The victims don't know what is happening. It's something that's entirely encapsulated within DJS, and a crime has been committed. There's been a breach to public safety, to community safety, and none of the community safety partners are aware of anything. That is problematic.
DJS, they're not lawyers. They don't understand the elements of difference between a vehicle theft or unauthorized usage. When they give us cases, we have to go back. We have to try to fix the mess sometimes that is out there. We have to try to hunt down the police. It's too much.
City State's Attorney Evan Bates says having other people decide whether a case should move forward is an issue. That's why he's pushing lawmakers to have a judicial magistrate or a judge hear certain cases like juvenile gun offenses, violent crime, or stealing a car to make that decision. Kai?
Mackenzie, in addition to that legislative push, there are other ideas that prosecutors are asking lawmakers to tackle. What are some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. There's the issue of lengthening probation. And right now, the governor has indicated that he is interested in that option. Based on conversations I'm hearing and having with some sources, it sounds like there is a building consensus for extending the length of probation for young offenders. So next, the focus is on the Juvenile Interrogation Act. And we know prosecutors and police have argued this law, they say, hinders some investigations. Right now, the law requires an attorney to give permission for law enforcement to question a juvenile, even if the parent approves. And that's where the pushback is coming from. These prosecutors argue parents should have a say, and they want lawmakers to require attorneys to be present in person during that questioning.
If the parent wants their child to just tell the truth, why can't they? I really think that we're putting parents in a horrible position to say we want to hold you accountable for your child, but you can't even hold your child accountable to you.
One of the things I always hear Senator Jill Carter say, poor black and brown children. We're saying, do black and brown children, poor black and brown children, or poor white children, or individuals who don't have the financial means, don't they deserve to have a lawyer sit next to them? Because God forbid all of us, our children would have lawyers sit next to them.
Mackenzie, where do prosecutors stand on the leadership of DJS? Secretary Schiraldi.
I asked them this because we're entering Secretary Schiraldi's second year in this position, and everyone says he deserves time to turn things around, but not too long.
We can't wait forever because this is too big an issue that needs to be fixed to be broken for too long. So, I'm willing to take another look at this. We'll come see you again next year this time.
Deal.
And we can have the same questions. But, the person who came into that position last year, if you didn't help the 13-year-old, well, now they're 14. And you got to help them now when they're 14. And if we're still having this conversation when they're 15, well, then we might need to have some other conversations.
There are a lot of moving parts happening right now within DJS, and with lawmakers in session, we'll be following it all. We're live in the studio. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Before coming to Maryland, Secretary Schiraldi was the Corrections Commissioner in New York City. Tonight, Fox 45's Jeff Abel is talking with the head of the Corrections Officer Union there, who says there are problems with Schiraldi's leadership. Jeff?
Well, you know, the governor is still standing behind Vincent Schiraldi, calling him a reformer. But if you talk to those who he worked with last in New York, chances are you'll get a far different story.
Now, we still have a lot of work to do. But if there's anyone who is up to the job, it's our Secretary of Juvenile Services, Benny Schiraldi.
When he announced his crime plan yesterday, Governor Wes Moore applauded his Secretary of Juvenile Services, calling Vincent Schiraldi a reformer.
Secretary Schiraldi understands accountability, and he demands it.
I've been a correction officer for 25 years, and Schiraldi was probably the worst commissioner we've had in my tenure.
Benny Boscio is president of the Correctional Officers Union in New York City, where for 7 months, Vincent Schiraldi worked as corrections commissioner just prior to coming to Maryland. And in those 7 months, Boscio says accountability was only one-sided.
He came in here with this mindset of providing everything for the inmate population and not providing things that we needed. You know, wasn't concerned about our well-being at all. So he made it unsafe for us. He created armies in these housing areas. He really put us at a very disadvantage and made the job more dangerous than it ever was.
As commissioner, Schiraldi called for the shutdown of New York's notorious Rikers Island, the city's pretrial lockup, which houses more than 6,000 inmates. And according to Boscio, Schiraldi pushed the institution to a breaking point to prove it was time to shut it down.
We had officers working triple shift. It was like we lived in a third world country. And he contributed to that madness.
We must pursue two notions simultaneously: holding young people accountable for wrongdoing while helping them get back on track, all in an effort to improve public safety.
Now in Maryland, Schiraldi is again promising accountability. But in New York, correctional officers are shaking their heads.
He's not security conscious of things. And frankly, in my dealings with him, I don't think he should be in charge of any type of correctional facility or juvenile detention center.
Well, Schiraldi lost his job in New York after 7 months on the job when a new mayor was elected in New York. Rikers Island still remains open today. We're live. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. If you missed tonight's roundtable, it will re-air this Sunday. You can watch on My TV Baltimore at 1, on Fox 45 at 2, or on the CW at 10. You can also stream the roundtable in its entirety at foxbaltimore.com or on our YouTube page.
Vincent Schiraldi's input will have a key role in how lawmakers move forward in the next legislative session, which is today. State leaders are trying to find solutions to crime, youth violence, and a looming budget crisis.
I've heard the Senate president say he doesn't think he has an appetite for big tax increases this year. I've been here long enough to know that sometimes in the middle of the session meal, your appetite changes.
We'll have more on potential tax increases and how the legislature is planning to tackle the crime crisis coming up at 10:30.
I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.